Okay, we're coming towards the end of the legal module, and these are the last two sections, so it's the last run. And really, it's all about protecting, well, it's knowing where you are protected in terms of your contracts and supporting your business and the way you're going to deploy against your distribution channel, your partner network of people who are going to sell for you. And equally, how or what protects the competition from you going in and poaching other companies' business partners, because frankly, that's where you're going to start. Okay. Let's start looking here. So we just covered these three questions. Right? Can a company, you or someone else, legally restrict its distributors from recruiting other distributors from other companies? Okay. Or for other companies. Can you restrict their sub-distributors? So the people that work, remember, this is your one distributor, and that's one, and that's two, and then they have their sub-distributors, and they're selling out there to the big wide world. Can you restrict their sub-distributors, that's these guys, from selling or promoting your competitors' products? Or if you are a distributor, can you sell products? Should you be able to sell whatever you want? I mean, technically you're a free agent, right? So these are the three questions, because these are the things that you might think are like, they're not that important. But in reality is, when you actually bring someone on board, and you have your first company, that very first company, this is you. You've just found these two distributors, 1, 2, and they've started to deliver for you. The first thing that you're going to want to do is, outside of count the money that's coming in, is make sure that they can't start selling someone else's product, because now you are entirely relying on them for their sales process. Unless, and you know, especially if you've killed off your own internal sales team in favor of using an external one. So bear that in mind, because that's really what this is all to do with. It's gluing together this relationship. So if these are the three questions, we spoke about the three areas in contracts that your lawyers or you should be looking for, is whether or not you or your partners protect this channel partner list as a trade secret. Now, everyone obviously considers their stuff their trade secrets. Like any entrepreneur who owns their business thinks all the furniture and the computers and everything that's inside that company is his personal stuff, not like the way corporations think. When you're an entrepreneur, everything is yours, right? Including your data. So everything's a trade secret. But how do you prove that? Number 2, do the contracts in place violate antitrust laws? It's not that you're going to be a monopoly. All right. Let me put this into context for you, or give you some perspective on what I'm saying here. This is what your lawyers are looking for in your contracts. So if you've just taken some template contract and it's just giving the most wild restrictions that basically are breaking antitrust laws, or if you've just changed them slightly, your contract's null and void. So you want to make sure that these things are important for you to have wrapped up with your own contract, but equally, it's what you can look for in your competitors if you're going to be poaching other people's or other companies' channel partners or businesses that they're working with. And finally, is the restrictions, are they too broad? So look, in this section here, I'm going to cover these two areas. And in the final section in this, in the legal module, I'm going to cover this one here. Are they too broad? Because really, this is where you're going to have some ammunition to execute and actually do something in a legal capacity. Whereas these two here, I can run through them pretty quick, and I'm about to do that right now, because, well, frankly, it's difficult to prove any of these things right now. So I'm going to just show you why. All right, for trade secrets. So first off, you've got to be able to show that there's real economical value that is not generally known, or available for others to use without them getting their hands on it through improper means. Now, what does that mean? If you're a shoe company, you're working with all these different shoe retailers, they have an agreement with you, and they're selling a hell of a lot of your shoes. Or in my case with the real estate world, those real estate investment firms that were working with me, they're selling my real estate products. Question is, since they're all online, how do I really protect that information? Is that really a trade secret? I might have a relationship with all these people and we may have contracts in place, but is that really going to stop anyone else from being able to talk to them or poach them? It's not really, right? I mean, maybe your client list, potentially, but then are they constantly shopping around? I mean, you've got to think about these things. Trade secrets are very difficult to prove. You've really got to prove that the other parties got it through improper means. So that would be theft, bribery, misrepresentation, breach or inducement of a breach of duty to maintain secrecy. espionage through electronic or other means, right? So hacking and all that kind of stuff. You've got to prove it. It's hard to prove, especially in the world that we live in today, when if you're working with other companies, that stuff's widely known. It's not like someone's stolen the Colonel's recipe or the recipe for the Coca-Cola. This is really, you're working with other companies who have a presence, right? Who are marketing. So they're showing the world who they are too. So it's very difficult. So in a nutshell, yeah, you can pretty much go after the competition's people. You can go after them and there's very little they can do as far as trade secrets are concerned. That's not legal advice, but just make your own decision. Can they prove any of that? Okay. Number 2 is, what did you do to actually reasonably try to keep it a secret? I mean, did they keep everything in a box? If you stole an email list or if there's an email list floating around, what did they do to actually keep it a secret? So before I jump into antitrust laws, let me just quickly jump into this here, because there's only one thing you can do, that you can possibly do, is to have a policy or an agreement in a contract where everyone signs that agreement. So absolutely every single one of your distributors and their sub-distributors, if they have them, who are all selling out to the market out there, who bring in this money in, they're bringing that cash in. If you had absolutely every single person and every business, all the business, all sign a contract where everything that they do in relation to this product is a trade secret, I mean, that's the only thing you can do. But then, of course, is that too broad of a restriction? Is it too broad? Because that information is already publicly available out there. So think about that. Antitrust laws. This is monopoly stuff, right? This is like, I mean, if you look at Amazon, they get hit with antitrust lawsuits all the time. So it's whether or not the terms and conditions of yours or someone else's agreement restrict the promotion of healthy competition for the benefit of consumers, right? So whether it's your contract that someone's poaching you or you're poaching someone else's, is there something in there that is going to restrict the healthy competition? What does that mean? So if you're selling shoes, if you had in your contracts that you can never sell shoes in this area, because I'm selling shoes in this area, or if you're selling, like, it's not promoting healthy competition. So that would probably be a breach or a violation of an antitrust law. If they are restrictive, the contract is not going to hold. That's what I was just saying. Competition control laws in most countries are very broad because they have to be. It's very difficult, especially in this day and age. And like I say, go back to the example of Amazon. Look at Microsoft. At their height, I mean, they are technically monopolies, but they're not legally, but they get antitrust lawsuits on them all the time. So very, very difficult to prove these two. So the questions that they'd be asking you is which markets are affected by the terms of the agreement, and be able to prove that it's not significantly reducing the competition in that market. That's what your lawyers would be looking for as far as being able to take a contract and sort of actually work with it. If you go to a lawyer and you say, hey, look, this is a trade secret, or they can't tell me not to do this because that's in violation of antitrust laws. What are your lawyers going to do? Well, they're going to, first off, take a big chunky retainer off you. And then they're going to be looking for these questions. Oh, okay. What markets are affected by it? Is it significantly reducing the this and that in the market? It's very difficult. I mean, especially in this day and age where most of the stuff that you're doing is over the internet anyway, especially if you're looking at this DSSD, which is all about capturing the interest of businesses that are going to work with you on a global basis. And they could be working with your merchandise. They could be working with service-based businesses. It could be intangible businesses. Very, very hard to assign geography, to something. And that's something to be said, because does that really matter anymore? I mean, literally, can it be upheld in a court of law? I mean, it's too old school now. So my point to you is that take all of this stuff into consideration, because you may get people throwing these words out there. I mean, people do. They Google, right? So as soon as you say, how do I stop someone from stealing people that work with me? And then you get some guy on a forum saying, oh, antitrust laws, or, oh, trade secrets. You can declare their trade secrets. Just go and tell a lawyer. And then the next thing you do is you pick up the phone and you've wasted 10 grand and you've got nowhere. Understand that you can work around these. Very difficult to prove. Now we're going to jump into the third or the final section, or the third element. Let me just quickly shoot back to it. Yeah. Are the contractual restrictions too broad? This is now where you can do something about something, okay? So if you're working so whilst you're in position, you've just set your company up, there are people who work with you, so they are in term, they are in position. They're currently working for you. That you can control. And if they've just left your employment or working with you, again, there's some control you can put there too, especially for like a cooling off period in terms of where they can compete with you. So we're going to talk about that now, and that's pretty much going to wrap up the legal section of this entire module.